Good morning. Thinking a little deeper about Jesus' words in Matthew 7:15. Beware of false prophets. And he describes them this way. This is how they enter. They don't come in and say, hey, we're false prophets. They don't come in some grandiose way normatively. However, you do see some television false prophets who manipulate people in different ways, and they do it in some grandiose ways. And Jesus says, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. He's saying they come and they are subtle. They're benign initially. They blend in, right? They're sheep. Now, that's important. I think one of the things we see here is often they come at the lay level in the church. It's not that they often come in the form of a pastor. They can. I mean, we certainly see some of them on television and hear them on radio and things like that. Certainly, they've written some books. But oftentimes there are safeguards in a local church for some public teaching that would go sideways. So what happens is they come surreptitiously at a lay level, subtle, right? They're like... They're subtle in the way, and it's interesting. He says, but inwardly they're ravenous wolves, because there's this hypocrisy that sits here with them, and they're like the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood. Remember? Here's a little bit of the story. So Little Red Riding Hood pulled the string and the door opened. The wolf, seeing her enter, hid himself as much as he could under the covered lid of the bed, and said in a whisper, put the cake and the pot of butter under the shelf, and then make haste to come to bed, for it is very late. Little Red Riding Hood did not think so, but to please her grandmother, she undressed herself and began to get ready for bed, when she was very much astonished to find how different the old woman looked from ordinary grandmother. And then, what great arms you have, right? Well, it's the better to hug you with. What great ears, what great eyes, and on it goes, until finally the wolf, getting her close enough, eats her up. It's kind of a violent story. It's weird that we tell it to little kids. Nonetheless, as odd and violent as that is, there's this deep truth. She begins to sense, through getting close, that something isn't right, right? This detection of deception comes. And by the way, false teachers are usually detected up close. You got to scrutinize. You got to look at what's said. So that's why you evaluate according to the Word of God. You're sitting in church and let's say you're in a Bible study, and somebody who comes in now says something, and you go, huh? That seems kind of weird. That's a fringe view. That's not something that the church has taught for years, and it's a new thought they have, and it's a little innovative. And beware when we begin to contradict the revelation of God. False teachers are going to announce themselves. So that means that you have to have your doctrinal eyes, your perceptions available for what might be said, so that you, knowing doctrine, having on the right lenses, can see what is wrong and what is an error. So you got to be a student. And you got to be keen and attentive to be able to sniff it out. And you do that for the good of the whole church, because a false prophet will lead many astray. That subtlety will grow, and all of a sudden it ends up taking over people's lives. And this little teaching becomes a big deal now, and everybody rallies around it. Guard against false prophets. Take care.